Spider-Cat better be in this one. Catzilla has her eye on you. What's going on, guys? My name is Will and welcome to PLC85 for everything new with game and funny reaction videos. Subscribe and don't forget to hit that notification bell because we post videos every single day and we go live playing obscure games every single day. Anyway, on this episode, we are reacting to Game Theory Spider-Man Destroyed New York City, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Say it ain't so. Say you're not gonna ruin my favorite PlayStation 5. Come to think about it, I think that's my only PlayStation 5 game that I have. Don't do it, Matt. We are pro Sony here. We do not diss the PlayStation. Anyway, guys, I'm looking forward to see what his take on this is. I hope he mentions Spider-Cat. I hope we got a little snippet. What do you think, Catzilla? You think he'll mention Spider-Cat in this one? I hope he mentions Spider-Cat in this one. We did film theory. We did food theory. Now it's time for a game theory. Let's get inside that video.
Game theory, doing science till you're weary, ranking heroes using math, angry commenters and their wrath. Watch out, here comes the game theory. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that looks good in tights. Today, our focus is on Spider-Man, specifically Miles
green
Morales.
costume looks
Probably
sick,
should
though.
clarify that now that there are two Spider-Men in town. Well, actually, just the one, since Peter Parker has taken a well-earned vacay, but still.
MJ's headed overseas for the Bugle and requested me as her photographer. Kind of a working vacation for us.
So let's not let Peter distract us here. We've got much more interesting things to talk about today because with a new Spider-Man comes new powers, and with new powers comes new responsibility. You see, Spider-Man Miles Morales just came out, and
This
as
is my
upgrade
favorite game.
2.0 of the original Spider-Man, he's got himself some feature bloat. In addition to your standard
This is my
issue spider
favorite game.
skills, Miles has camouflage ability and bioelectricity. Now, don't even get me started on this. Maybe get me started a little on this, because what the? First, the camouflage. Great, you got yourself special DNA powers from a spider bite that make you invisible. Cool, totally fine with that. But why are your clothes able to change too? These
I
are
knew he was gonna get at
DNA-based
that.
powers. I'm not asking for Streaker Man running around town. I'm just saying that your DNA magic should not be able to cloak your literal cloak. Gripe number 2, your bioelectricity is called Venom Strikes. Yeah, that's not gonna get confusing with another character in this franchise.
Very
Digression over.
confusing.
Thank you for letting me get that off my chest. Anyway, thanks to Miles's electro-charged Venom powers, Miles succeeds in a battle against Rhino where Peter fails. It's enough to make Pete realize that he's quickly becoming obsolete.
Bioelectricity. Wow. Gotta be honest, little jealous.
Now, of course, these electrical abilities are useful during combat, but to me, there's something much more interesting about them. Throughout the game, Miles is forced to use his body like a capacitor, aka a device that stores up electrical energy. Sometimes he's sucking the power out of security systems to shut them down or get past electrified barriers. Sometimes he's powering things up like a battery on 2 legs with excellent taste in music. But without question,
That's true.
the most impressive feat we see Miles accomplish comes at the end. So, spoiler warning, because it's kind of impossible to actually talk about the game's big climactic scene without, you know, saying everything that happens
if you haven't
during
played
that
it.
scene.
I don't
So
know
the
why,
final
but then
mission of the
again, a lot of
game, the
people
Battle for
haven't got
Harlem,
PlayStation
features the
5,
climactic
but
showdown between our
PlayStation
two
4, so you have no
forces.
excuse.
In this corner is Roxxon, a mega corporation that's promising to deliver high-efficiency power to all of Harlem with their innovative new fuel source called Newform.
What you're standing next to is a new form reactor.
No points for guessing that Newform is actually
I was hoping for
dangerous.
more villains in that game, but I'm neither here nor there.
Prolonged
We'll talk
exposure
about
to it
that
can
later.
result in health defects like bone marrow decay. And in our other corner is the high-tech terrorist group known as the Underground. Vigilantes that are trying to expose Roxxon's evil business practices. If you're wondering why the Underground is one of the bad guy factions here, well, their way of sending a message about the dangers of Roxxon isn't by, whistleblowing or contacting the news or anything like that, but rather by blowing up a reactor which will actually cause an explosion that destroys all of Harlem.
You're not just gonna destroy Roxxon Plaza. You're gonna vaporize all of Harlem!
After a battle against the Underground's leader, the Tinkerer, Miles finally makes his way to the reactor. And in the same way that we've seen him drain the power of electrical devices across the city, Miles draws the power from the reactor. But of course, that is a lot of energy, and Miles, as a human capacitor, has to do something with it all.
Get them far away. I can't hold this in much longer.
Luckily, the head of the underground has a last-minute change of heart and decides to help Miles out by grabbing him and flying high above the city, so that when he releases the massive explosive discharge of energy, nothing and nobody is close enough to get hurt. In the end, Miles survives so he can return for the sequel, Harlem is saved, and the Tinkerer has a heroic final sacrifice. But because we never see the body, she can always return in the sequel if they feel like it. That final cutscene is, quite frankly, an awesome display of power, bravery, and self-sacrifice. It's also completely useless. Oh sure, it may look all heroic, but Miles Morales completely fails to protect the city in this moment. Miles completely botches the rescue of New York City and kills millions, but to understand why, we first need to look a bit closer at the reactor. At the start of the game, we see a big presentation from Roxxon's head of R&D, Simon Krieger. As we find out, this reactor runs on a fictional fuel source known as Newform.
Just one canister of this revolutionary fuel source is enough to supply Harlem with clean, safe energy for the next 500 years.
Of course, Newform is actually making people sick, meaning it's a threat to everyone in Harlem,
naturally.
to which I say, why would you not build a power plant somewhere else? Like, I don't know, middle of the desert? That is literally what's done with tons of other real-world power plants. Guess what? The existence of power grids make it so that the power plant that supplies energy to all of Harlem doesn't actually have to be in Harlem. In fact, tons of people in New York City have their homes powered by electricity that's generated by Niagara Falls, which is like 400 miles away. You can even maintain it using the robotic help that we know exists in the Marvel Universe, or heck, just use some of the holograms that we see throughout the game. Roxxon's plan to build their sickness-causing power plant in the middle of a population center is not just evil, but let's get real, it's just bad business. Seriously, have you looked at real estate prices for New York City? A moderately sized commercial building is gonna cost you nearly $1 billion with a B dollars. Maybe it's time I just
Billion
quit
with a B.
YouTube and become
Not
the
a
accountant
million
for
with
an
a M.
evil
Billion
corporation.
with a
Probably
B.
save them a bunch of money. Does Amazon have any open?
Guys should know what I'm
Since the
talking
single
about.
canister of Newform has enough energy to power Harlem for 500 years, all we need to know is how much energy Harlem consumes in a year and then multiply it by 500. Luckily, we have ourselves a handy tool for calculating this exact number, thanks to Vijay Madi, a professor of mechanical engineering at Columbia University. This map shows the estimated annual energy consumption of New York City on a granular block-by-block basis. Totaling up all of Harlem gives us a total of, let's see, carry the one, 91,860 megawatt hours per year. That
And
means
megawatts,
that if a
eh?
single canister of Newform has enough energy to power Harlem for 500 years, it is packing a total of 45.93 million megawatt hours. Or, to put that in SI units, which will make it easier for our calculations later, 165.3 million gigajoules. Why are you not impressed? Oh, I know, because those numbers are meaningless. I've been doing this for a decade and I still can't automatically see megawatt hours or gigajoules and know whether that's a really impressive number or not. So to put those numbers in perspective, the amount of energy that Miles is absorbing from the reactor is approximately 95% the amount of energy from the sun that hits the Earth in 1 second, or 5 times as much as all the nuclear power plants on Earth generate
means it's the
every
end of the
single
world
day.
then, right?
It is 2,625 times as much energy as was unleashed by the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima during World War II. And that is just the energy in a single canister of the stuff. At the end of the game, we're told that Miles has to stop the reactor because if it blows up, the resulting explosion would destroy all of Harlem.
You're not just gonna destroy Roxxon Plaza. You're gonna vaporize all of Harlem.
But boy, this would go way beyond just destroying Harlem. The most powerful nuclear weapon ever tested was the Tsar Bomba, which was created by the USSR during the Cold War. It had an explosive yield of around 243 million gigajoules. And, well, take a look at the mushroom cloud yourself. That picture was taken at a distance of 100 miles or 161 kilometers away. And you can still see the cloud, which itself is 40 miles or 65 kilometers high. Now, what's notable is that this bomb was actually detonated detonated at an elevation of 2.5 miles or 4 kilometers above the ground, and it still left a massive crater below it. Not only that, but structures over 500 miles away from ground zero were still hit by the after effects of the explosion. To put that in perspective, if you detonated that same explosive yield over Harlem, people as far as North Carolina would be feeling it. Heck, people in Canada would be feeling it. Tsar Bomba actually created a seismic wave in the Earth's crust that circled the globe 3 separate times before it finally dissipated. Now, Miles's discharge, that sounds gross, his electrical explosion isn't quite as powerful as Tsar Bomba. His yield is only 68% as powerful as, you know, the most powerful nuclear weapon to ever be tested on Earth. But it does raise an important point here, which is that the Tinkerer's simple plan of flying miles above the Harlem city block to insulate the city from the effects of the explosion isn't the magical cure-all that you'd be hoping for. So how bad is the damage we're talking about here? Well, in that final scene, we see the Tinkerer running up the side of a building, only to hold Miles just slightly above the cloud line. The tallest building in Harlem is the Harlem River Park Towers 1 and 2, standing at around 428 feet or 130 meters tall. Not super high. So that's our initial launch point. And from there are technically 3 layers of clouds: low, middle, and high clouds. The lowest layer caps off at 6,500 feet or 2,000 meters. And considering her launch point is significantly lower than that, we're gonna say that this is absolutely the highest height that the Tinkerer is able to get. Using this website, nuclearsecrecy.com, we can actually see what happens when you detonate a 34,000 kiloton bomb.
Oh, really? They have sites like that? Oh.
So did Miles manage to save Harlem? Let's find out in 3, 2, 1, detonate. Nope. Big nope. Basically, all of Harlem is vaporized as it falls within what's called the fireball zone. The rest of central New York City is in the heavy blast damage zone, where heavy concrete buildings are severely damaged or demolished, and fatalities approach 100%. Goodbye Central Park, goodbye Times Square, goodbye Broadway. Well, there wasn't really anything happening there anyway this year, and I have Hamilton on Disney Plus, so really that one wasn't too much of a loss. The entire rest of the city, as well as all the surrounding boroughs, fall pretty solidly into the moderate damage zone, where most residential buildings collapse and fatalities are widespread. My conservative estimate looking at this data is that 4 million people die in the resulting explosion. Wow. So it was a nice thought, Tinkerer, but you really didn't make that much of a difference. But fortunately, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man survives in the apocalyptic fallout, and the fact that he was able to absorb all of this energy into his body is a serious testament to his capabilities as a superhero. I mean, it's not quite MCU's Thor allowing the entire energy of a star to pass through his body, but he's doing pretty darn good. To give some context, a lightning strike has the power of about 10 gigawatts. So what Miles is experiencing is the equivalent of getting struck by 1,180,000 lightning bolts simultaneously. So you know what? I think I take back what I said. Maybe Miles is actually a better match for Thor, the God of Thunder, than I thought. And yet New York is apparently still full of street criminals who think they can go toe-to-toe with Miles using nothing but their fists. Maybe that's the most unbelievable part of this game. No, definitely the fact that the explosion didn't destroy all of New York. Hard to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man when you just accidentally nuked the neighborhood. But hey, it's episodes like today's that make me really thankful for our sponsor, NordVPN. Why use a VPN, you ask? Well, for one thing, a VPN encrypts your online life to ensure that—
Where was my Spider-Cat, Matt? Matt, where was my Spider-Cat? We had a deal. Catzilla, we're gonna have to write a very stern letter to Matty boy. That was a very good episode as always. I can't complain. That was a very good one. He made a lot of sense. It was a very nice theory as always. But based off his evidence, it looks like a lot more facts, eh? The game was amazing, though. Let's talk a little bit about the game, because I said I wanted to touch on it. The game was amazing. I hate the fact that it felt like glorified DLC, but it was very good. I can't wait for part 2, the official part 2, and I hope to God that they make this game too, please. Matt Pack, as always, great theory, great discussion. Guys, what do you think of this theory? What did you think about Miles Morales? Did you play it? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, guys, my name is Will. And don't forget, where there's a will, there's a way. Stay golden, my friends.